All right, everyone. We are live today with Bigdog, Felipe and Mendoza. We are on Beyond the Woodline. We are on Facebook and on YouTube. Um, People messaging me already. Leave me alone. Private, private
So
message. So
popular.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of popular, Bigdog, you seem like you got lot of things going on right now. I want at least what three podcasts you either are or are about to be a part of. If you want to talk about those, give those podcasts a little shout out.
Yeah, I'm doing strange miss was it? Oh shit, I already messed up.
Man,
Uh, we,
these are your
we can
podcasts, brother.
I know, man. But well, the random show is my personal podcast. It's just gonna be a bunch of stories and stuff that that people told me over the years. I've always had people come tell me strange stories or weird things that's happened to them, and I just didn't know what to do with it, so I thought I would do a podcast on it and just get some of the stories out there. I go different states sometimes, and like I've been out to New Mexico. I got a lot of crazy stories out there.
Mhm.
Ooh, I didn't know what to do with half of them. I don't even know what half of them are. Um, I can tell you one. Uh, so it was like a couple years back. We were going up for a conference for Brenda Harris,
Yeah.
and we just pulled into was it Pizza Hut? We just got to Pizza Hut, man. I was starving like Marvin. I can't go 3 hours without eating, so
Uh,
uh we stopped at Pizza Hut, and there was this guy waiting for us, a Native American dude, Navajo. He's a scary looking dude, man. I remember he kind of
hmm.
like intimidating. He's like, "You boys from Texas?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "I got some stuff going on my property. I need you boys to come check it out." Well, all right, but can a brother get something to eat? We're kind of hungry. This is back when they were having that two pizzas and a big cookie
Oh, okay.
special going. So I was like, man, that's what I want. Man, for some reason, that was the longest they ever took to make that pizza. Man, it took them forever. But we finally get it, and he wants us to head out to his property. I was like, man, I just drove 16 hours. I kind of want to find a room and crash, but he was pretty determined to get us out there. So we finally follow him out to his property, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a problem with something," because he didn't really fill us in while we were there. He's kind of quiet, just kind of staring at us,
Yeah.
just a little nervous. Like, man, are we gonna get killed if we go to this guy's property? So we finally get out there, and he tells us, "Well, I got something jumping from tree to tree from the tops of my trees. New Mexico doesn't have a lot of trees, but they got some trees,
Yeah.
and the tops of his trees were all tore up. It was so weird. It looked like an airplane kind of flew over them and just tore them all up, flattened them out, and knocked down branches or whatever. So he was more concerned about picking up these branches and having these branches fall on his kids than what was actually doing the damage. He
Right.
didn't really care about that. So he kind of gives us a little rundown of what's going on, and then he tells us his other story about how his kids were playing with the neighborhood kids. And out there in New Mexico, when it's night, it's dark, like
Right.
real dark. And he said one of the kids, they were playing hide and seek, and all the kids got little flashlights. And they see this one kid, well, what they believe is a kid, uh, kind of just standing close to this fence. And one of the kids runs over there and shines the light on it, like, "I got you." And this thing turns around and looks at him. It's all white, and it's covered in hair. And then it stands up, and it's about 6, 7 feet tall.
Okay.
Yeah. So when it stands up, the legs are backwards, like kind of like how the dog man's legs are the
Right.
are, and it kind of looks at the kid and it starts wobbling over towards the fence and kind of falls over the fence like a drunk guy would. It wasn't very graceful. It wasn't very uh it just was. They thought it was, the kid freaked out and turned around and ran off. Daddy, daddy, daddy. I just saw a devil or something. They didn't know what it was. And I was like, wait a minute, the legs were backwards? And
Hmm.
he goes, yeah, it had hooves. So I had my buddy Travis and Brandon with me, and Travis is an avid hunter, and he knows how to track game and stuff. So I say, Travis, get on that. So he's with his light, and sure enough, man, we find some tracks. They're about 8 inches circles, look like hooves.
Hmm.
Now
Okay.
that's bigger than a regular horse. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I'm not. I mean, maybe a Clydesdale. I mean, I heard they're pretty big, but
Hmm.
uh, yeah, these marks were about 8 inches,
Wow.
and over there by the fence where the kid said it fell over, there was three scratch marks, like three
Hmm.
claws where it fell over. And then the dad saying, well, when I ran over there a couple minutes after, he said on the other side of the fence was like a little farm, and they just kind of let all the animals run around together, like the pigs and the
Yeah.
horses and the cows, they all kind of just together.
Right.
And he said that they were all screaming and hollering and trying to get away, but he could never see it. He didn't know what it was. So I don't know. Maybe it was a skinwalker and transforming and wasn't finished or something. I don't know what to make of it.
Right.
But from what they described, it just didn't make sense. It didn't sound like a Bigfoot because I thought we were there for Bigfoot. So, of course, I pulled up Google Maps. I want to see what's going on. What the terrain. Well, there's a river on one side, and then his property's between the river and a mesa. So whatever this is going between the river and the mesa, uh, and it's just going through their property. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Somebody said it was their ex. Hey, can you
Yeah.
make it where we can get pictures? And I got some questions for him or her. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got tons of stories like that, and like I said, the random show is gonna be about a bunch of stories, and sometimes I'm gonna have the people that told me the stories, if I can get them to come on.
Right.
I had a couple so far. I think I got something like 17 episodes already, um, and not all of it's all supernatural or stuff like that. Like I have one with my cousin and his buddy. They were in the military together, and for a while they thought each other was past. They thought each other died, and then they recently had reunited each other. And we did a show with that, and they kind of reminisced about all the stuff that they did out there.
Right.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then I had one with Mike Richburg. He had a he had a heart attack, and he pretty much flatlined. He was gone, and he had an experience. And when he came back, he had a story to tell, and he told that story on there. And man, that was one of the probably one of the. I mean, there's a lot of good shows, but his was the one that I get a lot of messages about because he kind of brought back a message for everybody. You know how all
Right.
this negativity and all this bad stuff going on right now, and he had a message about that. And and then I basically told about stuff that happened to me when I was younger. This house that I lived at when I was a kid, and then we moved over to this house, and it was kind of the same deal. So we don't know if it followed us. And I never really was into ghosts or any stuff like that because I just didn't understand it. And it wasn't until recently I figured out, oh man, that might have been some ghost stuff going on, you know.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what the random show is about. And and I know I have a lot of friends in this field, and they like to tell their stories too. So like I'm trying to get people on and just talk about whatever they want to talk about. I mean, like I said, it's not always going to be spooky stuff.
Right. Right.
Um, but then Mysterious Woods is with Ann, with Squatch Dogs. I'm part of them.
Right.
Uh, and it's pretty much going to be the same type of deal where we can have guests or, talk about experiences that they had in the woods or, I told her, let's just, do it all over, that way just, people, if you're at a house in the middle of the city and all your cabinets start opening and closing, we want to hear about that. So
Right.
we want to check that out. And we had a couple good guests, and we're trying to get it out there. So we're trying to get some more support. When shows like this start off, it's kind of slow and it takes a little while. Because I used to do a show with Bob Garrett
Yeah.
and Brandon. Um, It was, and man, after it took a little while, but after a while, man, that show blew up. It blew up like a lot. A lot of people.
Yeah.
We had a lot of followers, and uh, but the people that followed him know what happened. Why he had to kind of shut it down. Um, so yeah, I know it takes a little while for shows to get out and get going, but and then the next one I'm working on is with my buddy Cryptid Hunter. It's called Big Mysteries because we both big boys, and we have between me and him, man, we should have tons of content, and we kind of got that little comedy
Yeah.
uh, deal going on with each other, making lots of jokes and some of it be serious, So we're working on that. So I'll be doing 3 podcasts, probably a week, and I used to do that back in I think 2014. I used to do one with Jeff Stewart, Crypto Hulk.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I did one with him. I did one with Bob, and then me and Lupe and 2 other guys, Jim and Oscar. We used to have one called it was NAG. It was North American Giants. So we used to have that podcast, but we only did a couple episodes before the band broke up and everybody kind of went their way.
Yeah.
But it was still fun, and it's a lot of dedication to try to do 3 shows a week with different people. But man, I mean, I've been so interested in the subject of anything, strange or mysterious. I've just been so fascinated. I try to get as many stories as I can, and you know, just something that I've always been into.
So you got a question up on the screen. I don't know if you can read it.
So, what do you recommend the best course of action to find yourself face to face with a Sasquatch? I guess it would depend on how it was acting. Now,
Right.
if it was like, is this a rated R show or rated
Man,
G? Or,
you can say whatever you want, man. This is we're all grown ups here. We don't want to get
okay.
too vulgar, but we're all grown ups.
Well, I always said that I've always heard a bunch of stories. Now it depends on how, like I say, it depends on how he's acting. Now, if he has a raging and he's sitting there foaming at the mouth, checking me out and pointing at me, then I might have to start dropping some brass on the ground.
Here you go.
Now,
Yeah,
even if he's sitting there going like this,
yeah,
I'd probably be cool. But if it's a threatening manner where me or anybody that I'm with, my teammates, are being threatened, then I guess I would have to do what I had to do to try to get us out of that situation. If
right.
if that's the last resort. I mean, by no means do I want to harm one, but only in self defense. Now, if it's a one that just kind of curious, and then I won't really do anything. I'll just sit still and let
Yeah.
him check me out and try to get as many details as I can. I mean, I'm not a videotaper. I'm not one of those guys running around in the woods trying to video everything, because I used to be. And
I think you miss a lot when you do that.
yeah, and it was nauseating trying to watch the footage, because it's like watching the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Unless you got some high tech equipment where the video is, not
Stabilized.
bumpy, stabilizing and everything,
Yeah.
then it'd be worth watching. But I mean, I have hours and hours and hours of footage, and then that's how I found out that I was a mouth breather, because I'm like halfway through the videos. That's,
Sound
it's
like a
too
video.
hot out there.
Sound like a
Yeah,
Sasquatch videotaping.
sound
Yeah,
like Darth Vader.
yeah. I think it depends on the demeanor of the Squatch, and really, I think you handle it the same way you would handle any wild animal. You know, you don't probably want to run unless that's your only option, but you're not going to get far. I guarantee you.
Well, I know I'm
I
not
think you can.
athletic.
One thing that my good friend Will talks about. Will Javney, he talks about. Sometimes standing your ground is the best thing you can do. Um, you hear a lot of the bluff chargers or people who are like scared and don't know any better and just freeze up. I think it kind of throws them off a little bit, when you don't run.
Yeah,
So
if you haven't had the experience, or you've never been in a situation where you had to keep your cool. I mean, like I said, you tell people not to run and they see something like that, they're gone.
yeah, I had a friend of mine. He had his encounter in Colorado. He was going up a hill. As he's going up, he hears these footsteps, and a squatch comes up, over the hill down towards him, and uh, he was wearing his camo suit. He was wearing a camo knitting, and the squash was just staring at him. It was swaying back and forth, side to side, and he couldn't figure him out. And it finally turned around, and when it walked off, it let out a big whoop, and it walked away. And we kind of figured out that because he had that camo netting on his face, the squash probably couldn't figure out either what he was looking at or get a good read on my buddy.
Yeah, it's probably strange for him to be seeing something like that walking in his territory. He's like, yo, who's that?
Yeah, and but it scared my friend bad enough to where he peed himself. Uh,
Well, I mean, that's instinct. That's natural fear right there. I mean,
yeah,
you can't. I mean, even animals. Sometimes, if you scare animals or they feel like
yeah,
they're in danger, they will urinate themselves or defecate it, just because it makes them makes your predator to be like, man, I don't know if I want to get some of that chocolate on my face.
yeah, yeah. You're right. Some animals actually use that as a defense. They'll poop
Hmm.
themselves and to keep other animals away from them. So besides Bigfoot, what are your other interests? Anything that really piques
Uh,
your interest?
well, I've always been fascinated by UFOs. I kind of don't want to really mess with ghosts, because I'm kind of scared of them, because can't punch them, can't stab them, can't shoot them. So I don't really want anything to do with that.
Yeah,
But yeah, aliens, I guess sea monsters. I'm always trying to see what kind of weirdness is going on, even conspiracy stuff.
yeah,
Try to check all that out. So I guess it's pretty wide, my interest.
yeah. So what actually got you wanting to do these shows? And you're someone who's puts himself out there already. So what made you say, I'm going to do all this now?
Uh, well, first Ann wanted to do Mysterious Woods, and I thought it was a good idea. And we did a couple live videos together and stuff like that, and we're like, yeah, we should do a show. Well, she told me, I didn't follow instructions. She told me to log into the account or whatever, but I accidentally made another account,
Oh,
and and so she was like, no, here's the account and here's how to get in it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then so we were trying to do shows, and I was like, well, I already have an account, so why don't I use my account? So we were trying to figure out how we could do shows together.
Okay.
Uh, and then that turned out to be a pain in the butt, but we found another way. We eventually did Skype, but then since I just had this account on Anchor to do, I was like, well, let me try it, see what's up, and see if I can get a show out and see if anybody even, give a poop. And then I was thinking, if anything, I'll just have these shows out, all these stories that I have, I'll just put them out and then um, just see what happens. And for a long time, I didn't even advertise them or say anything about them. And my buddy Logan would listen to them
Mhm.
because they were supposed to be Mysterious Woods, but they came out to be Big Dog Random Show because Ann already had that account. So
Oh,
he
I
would
see.
listen. So he would listen to them, and then he would comment on Facebook about them, and I was like, okay, somebody's listening to them. So yeah, then I started like keeping up with the numbers, and I was like, man, I got listeners.
Mhm.
But I didn't put them out until Mike Richburg came on, and I thought he deserved to for me to start putting it out because I didn't want to just have him do his show and put his whole, you know, uh, life after death experience,
Yeah.
and not put it out there because I felt it had a strong message for that everybody needed to hear, and it would be selfish of me just to keep it to myself. So then I started putting it out, and after that, it kind of blew up from there. So yeah, that's why I started doing the shows, started advertising them. But I mean, it's getting pretty good positive feedback. I get a lot of messages, or I'll have somebody because I started telling stuff that happened to me that nobody even knew about, or stuff that I didn't even talk about.
Right.
Because you can't be like, oh, I saw a Bigfoot, and then I also have all these other crazy stories. Because you don't want to sound crazy. You'll take a little bit of
Exactly.
the I saw a Bigfoot, but then you know what? I started thinking, man, I'm old already. I don't care if you think
Yeah.
I'm crazy. Cool. If you're my kind of crazy, hey, let's kick it. But if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. That's actually one of the questions I was going to ask you. You know, where were you at first, as far as, like I said, putting yourself out there as to where you are now? When you first started getting involved with whether it be Bigfoot or paranormal stuff, or like when you first started off.
At first, I was kind of, when I had my first sighting, I didn't know what to do, man. I thought I was going crazy. I kind of had like I don't want to say compare my PTSD to what real PTSD with soldiers is, but I was freaking out. Um, I started talking to people about it all the time, like people that aren't even into the subject. Started
Mhm.
telling coworkers. It got so annoying for my family that me and my little sister would go out to eat somewhere, and they'd be like, "So, what would you guys like to drink?" And I'd go, "I saw a Bigfoot." My little sister's like, "Oh, here we go again," and they're like, "Oh, really? Would you like some iced tea or something?" It was just crazy. I mean, I just felt like I had to talk about it to get it out, and then I realized real quick that you can't just talk to anybody about it because you're not gonna get the you know the you when you're not gonna get the response that you want.
Right.
You're crazy, man. There's something wrong with what were you smoking? What were you drinking?
Mhm.
So but thank God that I was talking to Bob Garrett and Brandon and Lupe and my cousins, and then I found out that there was a whole bunch of other people that had sightings also, and that kind of made me feel a lot better. But I mean, I was having nightmares. I haven't had any recently, but every now and then I'll have a freaky dream about Bigfoot. It's not freaky like that freaky. I'm talking about like scary. Like I
Right.
need to stay out, go live in downtown Houston to stay away from being in the woods. But I don't know. So sometimes I
Mhm.
just got to get out there, man.
And I've heard your story, and I don't want you to tell it here. I want people to go to your podcast and hear it. So, which podcast was it? Was it on? It was the one with Anne, right?
Yeah,
Or I missed.
yeah, it's on hers. I haven't done mine on mine yet, because I want to do it like I want to do it. I want to go in a different direction with mine. I wanted to have everybody that was there
Okay.
um, talk about it, or I wanted to do some sort of like a reenactment of it, where
Okay.
so I wanted to do something really, really crazy with it, and because a lot of people like the way that I tell the story. I guess I get into detail, or I get
Yeah.
emotionally into it. I told it next to a campfire where I had everybody just
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
all eyes on me. I'm standing up, I'm acting it out, I'm doing the whole thing, and people are just like, hey man, you need to tell your story. I'm like, well, it's been out a couple times, but it's it was on shows that either didn't get out too far, or stuff like
Yeah.
that weren't very popular. But
Yeah. It's a good story, and you tell it well. So, like I said, it's on Mysterious Woods, correct?
hmm
Yeah. So you guys find that on the podcast. That way you can listen to him tell his story. It's
it's
really cool. He does a good job. Like I said, as if you haven't noticed, he has a gift of gab, and
yeah,
so
it's gonna be called Bigdog versus Bigfoot on
okay.
that one. So yeah, I sometimes when I tell the story, I go into a different direction, and after I finish telling the story, I go, and that was the day Bigfoot saw me.
There you
And
go.
people think about it for a little while, like, huh?
Mhm. Yeah,
I said,
for me, I used to stay quiet about it. Man, I didn't want nobody to know. Not even like my own family members, even though they kind of knew that I was into the subject. I really didn't talk about it too much, and I don't know why, but I told a couple of my coworkers about it, and they were cool with it. And a couple of guys, they would pick on me, make fun of me or whatever. But it was funny. The guys that would pick on me, they would come pull me off to the side and say, "Hey, man, so what's going on with this, or what's going on with that, or have you seen anything? Have you heard any new stories?" Because I would tell them stories about stuff that people would tell me, and finally one day, one of the guy who gave me the most crap, he came
yeah.
up to me and told me, "Hey, I want you to come talk to a friend of mine. He lives out near Conroe." I said, "Okay." He goes, he came home and he found his dog ripped in half. I said,
Whoa.
I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, man." He says he wants to talk to somebody. He goes, he thinks, a Bigfoot killed his dog. So I went and I met him. I actually talked to Brandon about this. I don't know if Brandon remembers. It was a few years ago. Uh, and so I went and I met the guy. The guy said that he had lived on his property for like 15 years, never had any kind of incidents or anything. And but leading up to this, his dogs would go crazy at nighttime. He said he didn't know why, but they would start barking. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And he went to work. He used to work nights, and when he came home that morning, he found his dog just ripped in half. You know, and he's like, there's, nothing can come up here. He had 3 dogs that were all chained. Uh, and only one of them got ripped in half. And I asked him, I said, "What was the deal? Why did this dog get ripped in half?" He goes, "I don't know." He goes, "He was my best dog. He was my alarm dog. He was the one that would see anything. He started barking." I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, that's probably what got his ass killed. He was giving
I,
them away."
I got a crazy story also about dogs getting ripped up, but
Yeah,
that
but
that's for another time.
yeah, he would hear tapping on his windows. Um, sometimes people something was walking around his house. He had a trailer. Something walk around his trailer. But yeah, I think that's what happened to his dog. His dog got it. You know.
Yeah, he was making too much noise.
Yeah. Shan can't be. Shan, how you doing? Thanks for
Hello.
listening. Thanks for listening again. And yeah, I need to get her on. She's cool, man. She's cool. She's good people. But yeah, I used to keep everything to myself, but then I started talking about it. And the more I talked about it, the more I found people were willing to themselves to open up. And you just never knew when and where you were going to get a story. And
Yeah.
it was the craziest thing. And by that time, me and you went out the last time. Me, you, Lupe, and Sean. Went to that gas station. That chick told me the story about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Just because she saw your truck. And I told you she told me a mermaid story, right?
A mermaid story too?
Yeah, yeah. So I told it on the show I did with Sean, Michael, and Vance Nesbitt. But I'll tell it again real quick. She told me her Bigfoot story, and then she told me she's like, I have another story for you. I'm like, all right, that's cool. She kind of looks around. She was kind of timid and scared. She goes, it's a mermaid story, And she kind of leaned closer to me, and I was like, tell it to me. I'll listen to it. So she was in California again. I don't remember if she was in the same place where she had her Bigfoot encounter was in the Bear Mountains, but she was there in California with her grandparents. I don't remember if she was in a lake or thanks for sharing, Shan. I don't remember if she was in the lake or the ocean or whatever, but she said she was swimming and she looked down. She said she saw this big crack, like a big crevice at the bottom. So she started swimming down towards it to see if she could reach it. Well, she said as she's getting closer, she realized that she doesn't have any more air left, and she's like, she just knew she wasn't going to be able to make it back up to the top, So she starts swimming as hard as she can back up to the top, and she said she was just about out of air, and she saw these two hands come in front of her face like this, and they kind of opened up, and this big air bubble opened up, and she breathed the air pocket in, and she was able to swim to the top.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So she said that was a mermaid, And I said, well, who am I to argue about that? Who knows what it really was? But it was an interesting story, But when you talk to people, you put yourself out there. I think sometimes you're surprised at what you hear. I don't put anything out of the realm of possibility, even though dude, there's people out there, and as well as I do, that are full of shit to say the least.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell.
Yeah, and you can tell when someone's being sincere, even with a crazy story. You can tell when someone's being sincere about it, and whether or not that's what they really experienced is one thing. But I won't ever tell anybody unless I know they're full of shit that they didn't experience something.
Yeah,
You know,
I had somebody telling me a story about Bigfoot, and I could just tell by their facial reactions they were jacking with me. And
yeah,
so he's telling me all this stuff, and I just start going, man, you know what? F you, dog. F you. And he's like, what? I said, that was a fake story. And the other guy that was with me believed him. And I was like, no, he was full of crap. And then I said, you see how he just started laughing and ran away?
mm-hmm.
Anybody who had a real experience would have defended themselves immediately after I started saying all that.
Yeah.
But I could tell that he was lying just by his face. And I was in the Yeti, and he walked up to me and was like, hey, man, something happened to me when I was little. Making like weird twitches. I was like, what happened? And he started, me and my dad we were camping, and then we started hearing like some noises. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
This is serious. But yeah, the Yeti does get a lot of stories. I pulled in the gas stations out of town. They told me and Lupe a story one time about some lady. I think he was in Arkansas or somewhere, and it was a long, lonely road where this guy was cruising slow, and a Bigfoot jumped in the back of his truck. And I think he was going through a kind of a wooded area. You know how you don't go that fast through the wooded area?
Right.
He said he had one jumped in the back of his truck, and scared the heck out of the guy. And it finally jumped out, and the guy went and told his wife, and he didn't ever really tell anybody, but she goes around telling everybody, so he didn't have to. She'll tell it. She was freaking out. She goes, I believe him. He was scared when he got back.
Yeah.
He was freaked out.
Cool. Shannon's sharing with all her friends. They're all joining in. I really appreciate that. Yeah, man. Where were we going with this? I got chatting with people. I forgot where I was going with you, man. Yeah, I think, like I said, you just put yourself out there, man. You'll get some good stories. People will talk to you. And the same with the paranormal. You talk about paranormal. People, I think more people can relate to paranormal and UFOs for that matter than they can to Bigfoot.
That's true.
Um,
It certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
or even weird stuff. Like I had a friend of mine. We hung out for a while, and she told me one day she just randomly told me a story that she had a like a troll or something in her room one night, and I was like, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, she was." And this is also on the Big Dog Random show. It's called Creepy Little Man. But it was she's just stayed in this house with her stepdad, and it was just like really bad energy there. You know, he was very abusive and very like mean to the girls, and uh, she was asleep one night, and something started dragging her off the bed,
Hmm.
and she woke up and looked down at it, and it looked like that little guy from that movie Cat's Eye,
Okay.
like that evil little gesture looking guy, which he had the little hat with the bells, and he's just real ugly. And she said he was about 3 feet tall. And he started pulling her off the bed, and she started screaming. And she said it started like laughing, like an evil little laugh, and it went into the corner of the room where it was dark. And she said it went into that shadow, and she said she could just still see the eyes, and it just um like disappeared slowly, and then the eyes were last, and then the eyes closed, and she said, "Man, I never slept in that room no more." She goes, "It was real because I had like little like marks on me where it was grabbing me and pulling me." She thought it was just a nightmare at first, but she was wide awake, so it
Hmm.
woke her up. And that was part of that was a real random story because it seemed like she wanted to tell the story, but she didn't really know who to tell the story to. And since I'm into all this, you know, strangeness, she shared it with me, and I was like, really? I started asking her a bunch of questions about it and stuff, and then I got people that hear stories and call me and tell me stuff, and yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. When I had my old truck, I had a decal made. It was a Bigfoot decal, and when I went to go pick it up, I sent the guy the artwork, and I went to go pick it up, and he was like, "Hey man, what's going on with this decal? What's up with the Bigfoot?" So I started telling him, and he told
Mm,
me that his family, his uncles, his dad, and his grandmother lived up in Nacogdoches, and that they used to tell him stories all the time about Bigfoot, which Nacogdoches is a big area, pretty active area. Uh, and he said that his uncles, when they were small, they were walking down the railroad tracks, and they had that white rock, you know, and he said they got about like 40 feet away, and this big white Bigfoot stood up and walked off. He said they didn't even see it because it blended in with the rocks, but it
wow.
just stood up and walked off into the woods,
Well, there are stories out there about a big white one.
Yeah, really, that's pretty cool. And yeah, so put yourself out there, guys, and I know it's kind of strange sometimes to talk about. People give you weird looks, but after a while, you get used to it. You know.
Yeah, I just take it as jealousy because they ain't had nothing crazy happen to them.
Yeah, that's kind of a boring life if you have anything happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what it is.
Yeah. So what about UFOs, man? Have you had any experience with that?
Yes, I have. And see, that's what I was like, man, I really don't want to talk about that stuff because everybody knows I've seen a Bigfoot. But like I said, after a while, I was like, I don't care. So there was one time when I think it was in the late 90s, I think, maybe. I was sitting outside, and it was like a clear day, and I saw this big cloud, and I was like, man, that's a weird looking cloud. Wouldn't it be crazy if a UFO came out of that cloud? And right after I said that, man, this like little object came out of the cloud. It just kind of came out a little bit, and then I could see it. It like showed itself, and then it sucked back into the cloud. I was like, that was weird. So I went and got a couple of friends. I was like, hey, y'all got to see this cloud. There was a UFO in there. And we stood there staring at it for a while. Nothing happened, of course. And they're like,
Hmm.
man, get back to work or whatever. So then the second one was I was coming down this back road by my house, and now they're building all kinds of stuff there, but back at this time they didn't have too many buildings or anything. There was a prison out there, and there was like this black ball. It looked like a balloon, but it was perfectly round, and it was about the size of a Volkswagen, I would say. And it just kind of it just shot, just cruised right over my car. I don't want to say it was going slow. It wasn't going fast,
Mhm.
and it was gloss. It was either chrome or black, and
Hmm.
it didn't have no lights on it. It was like mirror finish, like glossy finish, and I could see the headlights of my car reflecting off it, the lights
Hmm.
off of my dashboard flashing on my face, and then I could see like all the lights on the prison because there wasn't that many buildings out there at this time. And it was just like a mirrored ball, just kind of
Oh,
just going, and I was just like, I stopped and I watched it, and when it got over the street, it didn't stop. Nothing electronic, happened to my car. You know how like people report that when
yeah.
there was UFO, all their stuff started freaking out. It didn't do that any of that. So I don't know if it was an alien or whatever. It's unidentified
Yeah.
flying object. So
Exactly.
it could have been. It wasn't a balloon because it wasn't bobbing with the air or nothing. It was just like it was.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I watched that until it turned into a little dot and took off. I'm surprised I didn't shoot at it.
You could have
But
started an intergalactical
I
war.
could have, man. Well, I had a little 380 on me at that time. It would probably been thinking I was throwing rocks or something. But
Mhm.
and then the third one was I was with the Garretts and we were out in at the Sam, like everybody says now. And uh Bob was sitting in the truck, and I guess he was messing with his phone, or sometimes he takes little cat naps. He doesn't really like me telling people about his little cat nap, but you know how older people are. You sit for a while and just kind of go to sleep or whatever. So me and Travis were sitting out. I think Brandon was at work. We're sitting out, and I had this parabolic uh mic set up, and I had it far away from us. We had walked off into the dark and set it up, and then we came back and we were just sitting in this clearing. And man, it was such a clear night, and you could see satellites coming over.
Mhm.
And this one came over, and then this light shot out of it, and it looked like a cheesy sci-fi movie. You ever like how you could see the edge of it coming down?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
when it hit the ground, like it's light, but you could see the edges.
Hmm.
Like it's dark here and light here, and it's
Right.
kind of hard to explain. Like a beam, but
Yeah.
straight. And when it hit the ground, I looked around, and you could see everything lit up, like it was daytime,
Yeah.
and there was no shadows, none. It was just so crazy. It was like, and uh, and then it sucked back up, and Travis didn't see it when it came down. He saw it when it was going back up.
Hmm.
So it like came down, hit the ground for maybe like a couple seconds, and then it went back up. Well, Bob thought we were taking pictures of him taking a nap because the light woke him up. He's like, "Quit messing with me, leave me alone. I'm just trying to chill over here, and you guys are messing with me." And like, Bob, that wasn't us. We weren't taking a picture or nothing. And yeah, it was weird. We were talking about it, trying to figure it out, and then I think Travis said something like, "Oh man, it must have been like the satellites taking a picture of us." And I was like, "I don't think the flash works like that."
You see what Shan put?
You see, yeah, I have. That's not even ghost stuff yet. But
Yeah. One time.
huh?
Oh, go ahead. Finish. No, no. Finish your story. That's good.
Oh, I was gonna say that was just one of the weird things that happened out in the woods with the light. And then I know you said UFOs, but I've seen the orbs out in the woods uh with Bob and them. And when they first told me about it, I thought it was I was like, dude, it's got to be light bugs, or it's got to be an explanation for what you guys are talking about. And they're like, "Hey, you got to come check it out, man. This is weird." So I go over there, check it out, and man, there's lights moving around in the woods. Looks like people walking around with flashlights. And me and Brandon, this was back when I could run. We start running after those lights. Well, we leave Bob and Travis behind because they're not able to keep up. Well, Travis could, but he's trying to stay with his dad, which is understandable. Um, so me and Brandon run off into the woods chasing these lights, and man, it was so weird. They were like moving. They would like either turn off and then appear somewhere else, or they would physically shoot off behind another tree. And this happened like two times, and I was like, "Hold on, man, there's something up with this. I don't think we should be doing this." I just got that feeling like, "Oh my God, we need to stop. We need to get back with the other guys," because I don't know. It was like we were being led away. We were getting separated,
Yeah.
and I was like, "No, we need to stop." So we turned around, and when we tried to turn around and go back with Bob and Travis, we couldn't tell which lights were theirs because everybody had flashlights.
Okay.
It looked they were all it looked like the stars from the sky just sprinkled down into the woods. There was just all around us. We couldn't tell which way was which. Um, and so their mom pulled up in the truck, and I said, "All right, dude." And I'm one of those type of people that always tries to figure out a way or a cheat code or maybe something that they didn't think of. I said, "Call your mom and tell her to flash the lights on the truck." So he called her up. She started flashing the lights, and that's how we figured out which way to go and how to get back.
Okay.
And man, we got once we could actually see the truck because we didn't know if it was them fooling us still. So we started walking towards the lights that were flashing, and that's when we saw the truck, and we ran over and we started telling our story. Bob was already back by the truck, and then Travis, we didn't know where he was, and then he finally come around, but he came around a whole different direction than we were at. Like, dude, where were you? He's like, man, I was looking for you guys. So he was chasing some lights, thinking it was me and Brandon, but he was off in a whole total different direction.
Damn, that's
So
crazy.
what they are, I don't know, but I just got this like halfway through it. First, it was like, oh wow, look at that, and then the second, it was like, yo, something ain't right. We need
Hmm.
to we need to go back. So
So, so whatever they are, you say there's some intelligence to them.
I would say so.
Okay.
I would say so. And it was hard to videotape them because I was trying to. That's when I was doing the videotaping.
Okay.
Can't really see them that good with the camera, but I got my night vision and I put it in front of the camera and you could see them, but I wasn't about to run around all night holding both of these cameras and night visions together. But yeah, it was crazy. So I don't know what it was, and we've gone back a couple times. You can see him. Bob does not like messing with him.
Yeah. Um, your last trip, I guess I don't know if it was your last trip, but one of your last trips anyway. You were out and where were you at when you saw the lights? Were you in Marfa?
Yeah, I was out in Marfa. I've gone
Okay.
there before with Lupe. We
Okay.
went out and we sat there all night long, and we got there before it got dark. Man, we were there for hours, and we finally started getting tired, and that's when we decided to leave. But yeah, the second time I was with my girl and her kids, and we were checking out the stars because man, it was so clear out that night. You could see the galaxies and stuff. Man, it was amazing. And then in the corner of my eye, I started seeing a red light flicker. So if you go to Marfa and you go to that little area where they have like this viewing area
Hmm.
on the right side, there's a freeway, and you can
All
see
right.
lights, car lights on that side. But anything off to this other side, that's where the weird lights are. So in the corner of my eyes, I started seeing a red light flicker, and I thought it was a car at first. I'm like, man, somebody's driving their car off in the middle of the desert, man. That's weird. And then I started looking at it again. And I go, babe, look at that. And she turned around, and looked at it, and and then it started changing colors. It wasn't red no more. It started changing like into blue and white, and then it would start zigzagging like this, moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, there's no way a car could move that fast in the desert. And at first I thought it was a dune buggy. I was trying to be logical about the whole thing. And man, I said, everybody be quiet, because if it's a dune buggy, it's gonna be running straight pipes, so it's gonna be loud. You don't put mufflers on little vehicles like that because you lose horsepower. So we
Right.
listened, and then there was like at one time there was three of them, and I was like, man, that would be super loud if there was three dune buggies out there.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear nothing, no sound, no nothing. So yeah, we were watching. Some of them looked like they were spinning like this, and then they would zigzag, and then they would dim out. Then there was three of them in one time, and then one would dim out, and then the other one would dim out, and then it was like, so this went on for about 20 minutes. I even tried to do a live feed. I don't know if you caught that,
Yeah, I did.
but like I said, the video wouldn't record it. So I tried to just describe what I was seeing and our reactions. So that's why I was leaving the audio on. But yeah, it went on for about 20 minutes, and then nothing happened. We sat out there for another 2 hours, and nothing happened. So we decided to go back. But we're planning on going back sometime and staying out there longer. Maybe we'll get some crazy lights.
Just
Let's
check
just
real
say it.
quick.
He saw when he was younger, he saw lots of strange things in the skies, and saw lots of spirits as well. Oh man, we need to hear them stories.
Yeah. Yeah. My UFO story. I was fishing. I was in Galveston. I was with my ex father-in-law. He was standing down to my right, maybe, 30, 40 feet down from me. And he says, "Hey, Joe." And I look towards him, and he's pointing up at the sky like that, up towards our left. And I look, there's just disc, right? I mean, right along, Galveston Bay, just coming like that, just right above us, maybe 300 feet above us. And we got a good look at it. It was bigger than like a single engine plane. Made no noise. And I don't know if you know where that airstrip is at in Galveston, where those little planes come landing in. It's probably, I
Hmm.
don't know, a good 2 or 3 miles down the road from us, and you could hear them coming in, and whatever it was right above us, silent, nothing, and it was so smooth. There was no shaking, no up and down. It was just like, man, like it was on rails, just going. It was so slow. I never seen anything fly that slow and not fall to the ground. You know what I'm saying? You have to maintain a particular airspeed to stay up. And this thing was just moving so slow, and I mean, it literally took like 5 minutes from the time we saw it go all the way down to the time we couldn't see it anymore. And I always wondered if that was something that was, man-made, or if it was an actual, something out of this world. Because they have Dickinson, uh, the military base isn't very far, maybe 25, 30 miles away. So there's a military base nearby. But who
Right.
knows, right? You know.
Who
But
knows?
shortly after that thing disappeared, two military helicopters came flying the same way, the same direction. You know, so I was
Yeah.
wondering if they were maybe trying to figure out what it was, or if they knew what it was and they were escorting it. Kind of. But that was really crazy, man. And
Yeah. Who knows if
and
it's art?
yeah, and that's why I tell everyone. I've done shows on witchcraft. I've done shows on paranormal. Bigfoot, other cryptids. Uh, I've got different people coming up. I've got a guy who does like I don't know if you call it splunking or not, but he does like all the cave explorations. And he's
No, I
actually
know.
found like, yeah. I can't remember what it's called. I don't think it's called splunking, but I forgot what it's called.
I think it is.
Is it okay? And so I got him coming on, and he's from Great Britain, and that's where he does his stuff at. Um, and that's kind of where I come with the show Beyond the Woodline, because there's more to this
Yeah,
strange phenomenon than just what we see. There's more to stuff beyond the woodline and spelunking. Okay, thank you, Shan. Spelunking, SP.
spelunking.
Yeah, let's see. I'll put it up on the screen. But yeah, man. So before we leave, do you have any advice for newcomers to the field, whether they're in a paranormal, UFO, the cryptids, just general advice for people who are trying to get their foot in the door or just want to follow this kind of stuff?
I would say question everything and don't be so naive. Don't just because somebody says something, something is this. Question why he's saying that, or and do your own research and try to figure out, you know, what these people are experiencing. And don't be a jerk. Don't be a
Yeah,
dick. Just
yeah,
if you're gonna be open minded. Don't say you're open minded and be like, oh no, there's no way that could happen. There's no way that's not a UFO because there's no aliens inside. Just
right.
be open minded. Don't be a dick. There's a ways of talking to people without asking questions. Stuff like
Right.
that. Get info. Um, but yeah, just be open minded and don't be a dick.
Yeah,
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not true. I
right.
mean, the stories that people tell me, uh, I mean, I never experienced a troll pulling me off the bed, and I hope I never do. But I believe her because the way she got emotional, the way when she was talking about it, and she was scared, and this happened to her when she was younger. So you could tell by the people's the way they tell the story if it's true or not. So
Right.
you know,
And something
that's
I
what I.
tell her, yeah, something I tell everybody is that, you know, you got to have thick skin also, you know,
Yeah,
because not so much for the jerks, because I don't pay attention to those people, but people are going to scrutinize and criticize your stories, your evidence, and it doesn't always come from a bad place. It's like you said,
yeah,
if you tell me a story and I have questions for you, it's not that I didn't believe you or I don't believe you. I'm trying to,
yeah. But don't be sensitive. If somebody
yeah,
asks you a
yeah,
question because they want to know. Don't be like they're asking me a question because they don't believe me.
yeah, yeah, and maybe they're trying to debunk your story and say, well, you know what, this isn't what you actually experienced. What you actually experienced was this, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So yeah, you got to have
Yeah.
thick skin, you know, and don't take everything so personal unless someone personally attacks you. Then that's a whole different story.
Well, I
But
mean, even that. Don't be so weak. But
yeah,
there's no need for it because I
okay,
think if everybody got along and because everybody's got a piece, and if we all get together and you say this happened to me and oh well something similar happened to me and you put these pieces together and you start to figure out a pattern.
right.
But everybody's always either being jerks to each other or something like that. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I think sometimes we eat our own in this stuff, right?
Oh, we do definitely, and there are a lot of hoaxers out there. But like I said, question everything.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Find some good resources and follow up with that, and that's
yeah.
that's
After
all.
a while, you start to figure out who's full of crap and who's not.
Yeah, yeah. Michelle
So
says skepticism is healthy, and she's correct about that.
yeah,
All right, guys. Hey, guys, I appreciate it, man. All you guys tuning in. Shan, thanks so much for this. I can't thank you enough. Um, she got all her buddies on here to listen to the show. Some guys said they're going to go back and watch the other shows I have. So I appreciate that very much. I'm trying to get this thing blown up. Eventually, what I want to do is go to an actual podcast. I still do live shows here and there, but I want to actually recording shows and doing like that, do a better production. But any last parting words, Mr. Big Dog?
yes. Check out Mysterious Woods podcast. You can see it on Spotify. I think you can get them on what is that? iTunes, and there's a bunch of different anywhere where they pod your cast, you can get it. And then you got Big Dog Random Show. That's my personal one where I tell a bunch of crazy stories about something similar to what I've told tonight or today. And then we'll be looking out for Big Mysteries with me and Cryptid Hunter. And hope you guys enjoy. Please support us. And Joe, we're trying to do something here, and share it, like it, pass it around, put it on different pages. We need support. It's the only way it's going to get bigger and get
Yeah,
better stories.
yeah, and I just like sharing information and giving everyone a chance to express themselves.
Yes, sir.
Cool, man. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'm sure we'll
Oh,
have Big Dog on here again. Hey, yeah, there you go. Bro, about the shirt. That's from Mr. Bobby Garza. Bobby, man, you rock,
shout,
dude.
shout out to Bobby.
And
I know
it's
he,
the South Texas Cryptid. What is their whole name?
uh, South, uh, South
Texas
Texas.
Cryptid Research.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Cool, man. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Like I said, and we'll see you later. And I'm sure we'll have Big Dog on again. Thanks a lot.
Don't forget
We
about
appreciate it.
Squatch Dogs.
Squash Dogs. There you go. All right. Thanks a lot again, Shane. I appreciate it. Bye.
Peace out.